It might help listeners to kind of visualize if you could talk through one of your most recent deal. I know or one of your most recent deals. I know you're working on one right now near Glacier National Park, which I think is one of the most beautiful places in the world. So what an awesome place to own an RV park. But maybe that deal or another one, just to kind of give an idea of what you're buying it for, how it works as the syndicator, what your portion is, what you're raising in terms of other partner capital and debt capital and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a great one to show the difference between a lot of times one that you might buy yourself. Maybe sometimes, like I said, it's not about the site count, but it's about the how much the revenue that it can produce. So like that park, Moose Creek, it's a beautiful park, beautiful place, 2.5 miles from Glacier, the west entrance of Glacier National Park and West Glacier. And it's about 68 sites, about 58 RV sites. And then it's got a bed and breakfast, and it's got glamping pods, and it's got some cabins. It's got a lot going on. It's got a little cafe, and it's pretty. It's only open during the season, the summer, and in the off season, in January, December through February, March, it's cold. And when I say cold, like the freeze goes 6 feet down cold. So the whole park has to be like fully taken offline and fully taken back online. They just get all the, there's a whole manual to doing that, but that is a deal where it's obviously a much more valuable asset. That's not one that the average person would think to buy themselves. And that's one where we definitely will have a team there managing it. And that park, so we're buying that for $6.25 million, the 30% down. It's seller financing, which is nice. 6% interest only for 5 years. So it's good. It's good financing terms, especially in this environment when rates are like 8%, sometimes more. We're raising $4 million by the time this, by the time we're said and done, it'll be the season before we know it. But our target raise is $4 million. That's about roughly use of funds, roughly $2 million to close on it, and then another $2 million just for expansion, repairs, improvements, team, working capital, cash reserves, all those things. And it's a heavier lift, and we're closing right at the beginning of the season. So it's a beautiful one, but it's a lot of work. But also, like, team's really excited for it. Like, it's a sign that we're really being able to close on some really cool parks, and it's a positive symptom of having built a portfolio of parks. I think the sellers only sold to us because it wasn't just about the price. It was that they knew we could come in and bring a team and execute on close on time and open it for the season. And they've worked. It's a family that owns it, and they've worked a long time to make it what it is, and don't want to see it screwed up. So.
And what's your plan with that then? How long do you plan to hold it? What do you do with that $2 million of improvement, budget?
Yeah. Well, plan is we're I would say medium to long-term holders. We're really looking to build a portfolio of great parks throughout the country. Mostly it's been in the South. Historically, it's been Tennessee and surrounding states, but we're now branching out and looking for where are great places, strategic places, where there's scale that could support a team. So 5 to 10 years, I'd say 5 to 7 years, more likely the range. I think that as a company, the whole portfolio, we hope someday will be attractive to a bigger, maybe a pension fund, maybe a big fund, maybe, there's other ideas we have too, but it's when you start aggregating them together, it becomes a nice income stream, kind of bottom line. And the more great parks we have, the more stable that income stream becomes. So it becomes kind of a finance game. But our plan in the short term and the next couple of years, our plan is really this year just just close it and run it the way they ran it, largely. Get to know it. You were buying a business, so there's a lot to learn. By next year, we have some ideas already for this year. There's some little things we can do, but by next year, we want to expand the park.
Okay.
We want to add more sites. We want to add more glamping pods potentially in tiny homes, and just really there's acreage. There's like 20 acres, so really kind of get a little more scale out of that, and use that the $2 million bucks for that. So.
Awesome. And then what do you offer to your investing partners who are providing that $4 million of raise?
Yeah, so this is a syndication for accredited investors, and that's part of when you start marketing, that's something to know. You start marketing something to the public for investment, you start getting into SEC territory, so you have to make sure you do it right. We have an SEC attorney that walks us through that and does the legal documents, and this is for credit. So this raise is for accredited investors, and there's certain thresholds you have to meet, income or net worth requirements, and then minimum investment is $50,000. And what we offer is, and they own equity. So and like my wife and I have invested, we're investing too alongside the investors. So same terms for us. It's a GP-LP structure. So the way that one way to think of that is that there's the senior equity is really the cash investor equity. They're preferred to the GP. The GP is really like our earned equity for doing the work. So that's the sweat. That's really the sweat equity in a syndication. And then on top of that is the LP or cash investor equity. And then senior to all this is the mortgage. Debt always gets paid first. But if, let's say, the property didn't go well, mortgage, scoop that off the top, other debts of the business, then you get into equity. Well, the cash investors get the bite first, and then sweat equity, GP equities down here. And there's a 30-70 split. So the way it works is actually there's a whole waterfall, and there's different ways people do these, but there's really a market for what your waterfall is and how that whole split between LP GP works. And we do it as follows. And cash investors get a preferred return. We do an 8% preferred return typically, which that comes off the top. That's like if you invest $100,000, 8%, you get $8,000 a year, scooped off the top before any other investors, LPGP, get anything, and that just accrues. And let's say the property didn't go well, project didn't go well, we couldn't pay it. Don't matter. It's still accruing. It's got to be made up later. So that's an 8% rolling, scooped off the top that has to happen. Then from there, and different deals, different structures, then from there, it's a 70% split in favor of the cash investors, 30% split to us as the GP, up to a 15% internal rate of return, and then it goes to 60-40. So it stays 60% cash investors, 40% GP, but it's an incentive for us to make the whole project achieve a higher return. And that's the game. I mean, that's how it works. And then really what we're doing, I'm sure some of your listeners are familiar with like the BRRRR strategy in real estate. It's really just that, like buy, rent, really applicable to single family homes is what people think of, but it's really the same kind of game. It's buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. And that's what we're doing. So we're not a lot to rehab, but there is expand. So we're going to buy rehab/expand, rent that up, or in this case, just show it over time. Show the increased revenue, the higher NOI over time, and then once we prove that over to 24 to 36 months, take it to the bank and say, hey, reward us, hopefully with a lower interest rate, maybe not than 6%, but we've hopefully interest rates are well below 8% come 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, and cash out refinance, distribute it back to investors. But everyone still owns their position, so we just have a bigger mortgage, but we've given you your cash back. You as investors you're not liable for the mortgage at all, so you're golden. Hopefully we've more than given you back your principal of your investment and then some. So it's all gravy. And then you hopefully reinvest in another deal or just go on vacation or whatever you choose. But in what I'm doing, I invested in another deal, and you can see how then it starts to
Exactly.
really build.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is for people interested in, building wealth over time, you can see how if you're getting that 8% kind of fixed return and then you get all your capital back within 3 years, but yet you still own equity in the property while it's still continuing to appreciate, you can just redeploy that capital into another deal, rinse and repeat, do the same thing over again. And, after a while, you own a lot of a lot of equity in a lot of different deals, and you're still getting those 8% returns at a minimum, in addition to obviously being cashed out at different times.